Welcome to the fourth webinar on serverless integration. This is a part of Unite to Ignite series. I'm Anil Garg from Apna Infotech AVP Strategic Initiative, your host today. I am pleased to introduce our distinguished panelist, Alex, the COO at nanoConnect, and Hardik, the Vice President of Technology at Apna Infotech. Our agenda for today include getting to know Apna Infotech and nanoConnect, followed by insightful case study presented by Alex and Hardik, showcasing the capabilities of the nanoConnect platform. We will wrap up the session with Q&A session. Now let's delve into topic of the day. So let me quickly introduce Apna Infotech. So Apna Infotech is an elite team of professionals who deliver services, excellence through extreme passion, optimizing technology cost using zero wastage methodology, and our awesome organizational culture. We are known for our great culture and an inclusive workplace. Our commando approach, which is focused, goal-oriented, adapt, and honorable. Being extremely passionate about service, delivery quality, and technology. And our partnership model, where we believe in strong, lasting, mutually beneficial business partnership. Apna Infotech is constantly investing in its future. Our current journey are a set of products targeted towards enabling virtual organization to be successful. Mera Monitor and Fundu Friday. So these are the two products. And hyper automation, where we have built competency in a set of low-code platform and RPA tool. And finally, the reason why we are here, our foray into integration. In the earlier three sessions, we spoke about integration in journal and the nanoConnect and PayConnect platform. Today, we'll be demonstrate nanoConnect platform capabilities and some compelling case studies. As part of our development projects, we have been doing lots and lots of integration, whether it is mortgage bank or a golf aggregators. Today, in the era of integration and the world of IT is based on system talking to each others. We are now partnering with nanoConnect, who have built the platform nanoConnect and PayConnect, which have been substantial success in Australia, even competing with industry giant like Boomi and MuleSoft. I hope many of you must be aware about this Boomi and MuleSoft iPaaS platform. The adaptability of these platforms makes them an excellent fit for the Indian market. Now let me quickly introduce two platforms. nanoConnect is the flagship product, and it simplifies the process of data integration with the ability to get data in and out of any platform with a single line of code. Developers have a freedom to build solutions of unconstrained simplicity that run on demand and execute reliably every time. PayConnect is the customized version of nanoConnect, dedicated to integrating HR softwares with payroll softwares. When it comes to payroll integration, you need more than just middleware. With more than 30 years of experience of implementing payroll solution, we know how to help use structured data and processes to ensure a successful integration project. PayConnect comes with the lots of built-in features to enable easy integration in HR world. And the best part of it is that this wealth of feature is growing every day. So as we move forward, we plan to partner with software development companies and HR product companies. For software development companies, we will provide expertise in platform integration and also provide additional support in custom integrations. For HR software companies, we will provide integration services to their client, as we have seen this to a typical challenge in software adoption. We consider this as a huge value add for HR software companies. We will obviously be finding and servicing customers needing integration service directly. We hope to find enough customers to also provide customer references to our technology partners. In a sense, We are out to build a powerful ecosystem. We will be conducting regular webinars, networking opportunities, enable collaboration, and co-marketing opportunities. We will soon be inviting our partners to work with us on some of these initiatives. In the first webinar of this series, we discussed about serverless integration and its benefit. We also touched upon a bit on nanoConnect and PayConnect. Serverless integration offers scalable, cost-effective ways to integrate application without infrastructure worries. Serverless integration save about 50 to 70% in development cost, depending upon workload. Serverless applications are highly scalable, reliable, secure, and fault tolerant, and to lead to significant lower cost of ownership. I'm emphasizing the term total cost of ownership. We spoke about nanoConnect benefit like automatic scaling, segregated compute for each integration, segregated client infrastructure, reduced IT overhead, improved security, high availability, and reliability. Now, I would like to invite Hardik, Vice President of Technology at Apna and a key force behind this partnership. Over to you, Hardik.
Thank you, Anil, and greetings, everyone. So let me continue what Anil has already started, recap of the previous webinars. We also uncovered the incredible benefits what nanoConnect offers, which are it is highly scalable, it is reliable, and a secure solution. And as Anil already mentioned, it reduces total cost of ownership of an integration. We also showcased the platform's prowess in the real world scenario, and Alex demonstrated that nanoConnect empowers developers to tailor their system integrations for their business needs using JavaScript code, how it works. Again, then we discussed the 5-step developer experience about nanoConnect. First, log in with SSO and other advanced security features to nanoConnect platform. Create credentials. You can create multiple credentials to the platforms and systems out of our choice or our need. Then we create an application which utilizes the credentials which we created above. We then integrate our code or write our code in JavaScript with the assistance of templates which are already available on the platform and connect to the platform with a single line of code, just one line of code, and you are able to connect. And the last step is validate outcome. So while we also implement our solution, we will validate the outcome with extensive logging. So how the code works, we can check on the log, and then we go live whenever we are and client is ready with the integrations. Let me now deep dive into showing you how the nanoConnect can be utilized. So I will be showing a very simple use case which demonstrate the capability of nanoConnect, and it is file triggered automation. So we are using HR1 as our HR software and use for our HR processes. And the use case here is send email notification to the stakeholders based on using nanoConnect with a file when we put the file into the S3 bucket. That CSV file. It is very simple and straightforward use case, and it is very easy to integrate such scenarios. Let me start from scratch. You can log in with your credentials as soon as you log in. So this is step 1, sign in. We also have added here collections. So when you log in, you will be redirected to the dashboard where you can see all the jobs which are ready to be executed, number of collections, what we have, number of credentials we have created so far. And when we go to the collections, you can create, by default, there is one collection, and you can also bifurcate your code applications based on the different developers availability. So when we go through it, I will show it to you. Now, when we see Hardik's demonstration, so we'll be looking at it. So let me click on that. So this is my demonstration, my apps. First, I go to the list of applications. In this collection, here is the Hardik's app. Go again into that. What this app will do is which will be triggered by an S3 event which is the module name here. The status is ready. The application type is S3. When we have multiple different application types, again, Alex will further deep dive into different other types as well. But I am going to use S3 event, and the key, which is the name of the file, which contains leaves, and then we can actually. So these are the credentials which are already created. I'm not going to use any credentials in this particular demo because it doesn't require any credentials. We are going to use inbuilt features of nanoConnect itself. Let me go down a little, and these are the app options who will be receiving those emails. So I can schedule here that Man Singh and Hardik Shah is going to receive this email as soon as any file is uploaded. Start date and time. This is a S3 event, that's why there is no run scheduled time. And let me take you through the code. Here is the JavaScript file, which I can open from here, and we can use that in this JavaScript file is created using VS Code platform. You can see how easy it is. So this is the template. Once you are creating a JavaScript file, this template, you can utilize it. These are the simple, straightforward code. There's 3 parameters. We are going to use S3 bucket, and then we have a send mail email, and we are iterating through the data in the S3 in the CSV file, and then email body, and that's it. This is completely deployed on the AWS platform, so it is going to use AWS SES functionality as an email. The file is here, so I'm going to use this file, CSV file, where we have this many data. So these are the people who have applied for the leave, and we are going to see that in the email format. So let me close this file and upload this file in the data here in the input. This is the file. This is today's file. Upload it. Get the file uploaded, and if I go to the app, the status is in progress, you can see, and I will receive an email shortly.
It's probably, I don't know if you mind if I just jump in here for a minute, Hardik. It's also really interesting to note that you don't have to upload the file to the platform. There are other ways to get that file into the S3 bucket, that data bucket that you're referring to. And for a lot of legacy systems, that means that we can install a small piece of code onto your server, emulate that network drive, and I can demonstrate that in just a little moment as well.
Sure. Thanks, Alex. So that's my demonstration. I just wanted to show the email which came just now, and the last part I just showed you that here. And here is the email which I just received based on the data. So this can be configured. And as Alex mentioned already, you can upload that file using other means also on the S3 bucket. So it's very simple. And now let me hand over to Alex for further deep dive, and he can even explain further other features and functionalities. Over to you, Alex.
Thanks, Hardik, and thanks for that demonstration. So as we've seen from Hardik in that demonstration, there's a number of different ways that we can trigger. Sorry, back to the previous one. That we can trigger an application, not only through a file transfer, such as a file being created or updated in your own S3 buckets, which are created individually for each customer, but also the ability to schedule applications to run at certain times of day, times of the month, the year through cron, or just to run every minute, every hour, however often you might need. The example I'm going to give today will focus on another type of trigger for your application, and that is an API-based trigger. Now, for developers, you'd be aware that there's a number of different ways that you can receive and send data from different platforms. Webhooks is one of those, and so is APIs. With webhooks, what that means is that there is a source system that is configured to send you data when information changes in that source system. So nanoConnect is deployed with, for every single application you create, it can be a webhook type triggered application, meaning that in an asynchronous way, that target system can send data to your application and your application will be queued, and you have nearly instantaneous triggering of your application. And so that's really good for real-time data being received from a source system, where that system needs to just offload that data and then move on. APIs, on the other hand, as many of you might be aware, they're a means not just of getting data, but also sending data to a system. And typically they can be asynchronous and synchronous, depending on how you'd like to design them. We provide endpoints that allow you to trigger your application either synchronously or asynchronously, as you would see with the webhooks. And in that scenario, particularly for a synchronous API, it can be a push-pull model. So you want to be able to create data. You can, by sending it to nanoConnect, you can also extract data from nanoConnect. And so this obviously supports event-driven integrations. You can build your own APIs. And again, is really good for real-time data transactions. If we skip onto the next slide, in the demo I'm going to give you in a moment, it's part of a real-world application that we built for a customer. And so in this particular scenario, and looking at the whole big picture, we have a managed service provider who has a lot of clients. They have 100+ clients that they provide IT support services to. Now, their challenge is to be able to provide integrated reporting of all of that data to create a 360-degree view of their customer's environment across Office 365, across Azure, and so forth. And typically, they would do that customer by customer every month, creating a report. Instead, what we've created for them is a single aggregated data set in Power BI, where nanoConnect is the tool that's being used to aggregate that data, and Power BI is coming to get that information from nanoConnect. And so today I'll just focus on those areas highlighted in blue, because we do have just a little bit of time. The first one to point out on the left-hand side, that multiple tenants. So our customer has 100 different clients. They have 100 different tenancies from which they need to get data. And so with 50 or less than 100 lines of code, we're able to get data from every single one of those tenancies through the use of the configuration that Hardik just mentioned, and store that data, and also be able to iterate over all sorts of different graph API endpoints from Microsoft to be able to get that data into one place. And we aggregate all the customer data into one. Then with another 30 or 50 lines of code, we provide all of that data out via an API, a secured API, so an API key authenticated endpoint that Power BI can come get this information and get any of those reports that have been stored in the system. Now, for convenience, what we're able to do also as part of that original application is transform the data into a format that is easily read by Power BI. And so in the demo, you'll see we transform that data into a JSON format, even though the source system where it came from are Office 365 reports, and they might be CSV-based files to begin with. And so we can pass that data and then store it. So I'm just going to demonstrate how all this comes together, and I'll share my screen just for one moment. Now, as we go along, you might have some questions. You're more than welcome to put those questions into the chat. And at the end of this session, we do have some Q&A time. More than happy to answer your questions you might have when we get to that point as well. Also, I'm sure Hardik is open to talking a little bit more about the demo that he's just put up as well. As Hardik's mentioned, so we are able to organize our apps or our integrations into different collections. I'm going to drill into my demonstration, and in here we can see these are the two different integrations that I just talked about. The first one is an API triggered app, and the second one is the Office 365 to S3 app. And so we'll look at that Office 365 one to begin with, and we can see that it is a scheduled app and it will run every minute. So currently it's doing a lot of hard work. getting information from the Office 365's endpoints using the Graph API. Now I'll just expand out, if I can, this particular config to show you that this now is an application that is fully configurable to talk to any endpoint that we want to add into the relative paths in this array. So what this allows us to do is extend the functionality of our app without having to build more features, to write more code. And so in this way, not only can we extend to gather more reports, we're also able to add more clients. And you'll note that there's a credential ID and a tenant ID here. Just so you know, so this credential ID, in fact, is not a Microsoft credential. It's a credential ID based in our platform. And we're able to secure those private parts of that credential so that the developer is able to use this credential, but they don't know the secret, the client ID, and all of that other information that might typically be passed along to develop it. Now we can add multiple clients in here simply by creating a new JSON object and adding it to this array. And in this way, our customer can actually configure how many clients their application is actually supporting. We have a start time and an end time for this. This is, the last time that this app will be allowed to run will be on the 31st of December this year. And we can see that it ran recently as well. And you can see we have a range of logs, and we can extract that data and see how that integration is running, and we can debug that integration as well. Unlike Hardex app, so you can see that in this particular application, we have got multiple credentials selected. And by selecting those credentials, it means that when we're running the application, those two credentials are available to our job. And I'll dive into that in a minute. Just back out to our collection. So we also have an API trigger app. And in this particular case, it's when it runs, it's going to call my any data to API module. You can see that we have an API. For convenience, we have a way of just identifying what that base URL is going to be and what that call approach is. And we have the ability to assign or trigger this application synchronously or asynchronously with the authentication in the header or in the query. And in this particular case, all it's doing is extracting data from S3, and so we're not needing any credentials, but we do have a S3 bucket identified, and that bucket is based on the client ID and based on the environment in which it's currently deployed. Again, every time that API is triggered, we're logging that at the moment. We can see which document was being requested and so forth. Now we'll jump into the code in a minute, but just to give you an idea of where all this data is being stored, Hardex has shown you a data bucket. Inside that data bucket has an input and output. A data bucket is one which allows you to trigger S3 based events, whereas your code bucket is more of a static repository of information. You can see in here those folders, the file folders containing my code, containing Hardex code, but also the outputs of the integration. You can see we've got all of these different JSON files stored in our bucket. And now by hitting that API with Power BI, we're able to extract any one of these records on demand. And just to show you that currently working, again, before I jump into code, so this is a Power BI report, and that Power BI report is iterating over a bunch of different endpoints, and it's extracting data from these places. Now, this is a subset of our data and has been redacted to some extent, and I can refresh this data and it will pull the latest information that we have available for that tenancy. And in this way, we can also get data. Once we get the data into Power BI, we can add row-level security so that those customers, when they're looking at this report, they can only see their information. They're unable to see any other customer's data. So we have this Power BI report, which I'm going to just click refresh on that and let that run in the background. And while I do that, I'll just jump over to code. Now, I mentioned the ability to extract data and upload files into the system. I currently have on my machine here installed a Cloudberry drive. And Cloudberry drive allows me to actually access that data bucket, and I can even access my code. Now this is available on request. It's not something that's built directly into the platform. And in fact, that Cloudberry drive is a third-party tool, which you can buy for $50 US. You know, we're not even a partner of Cloudberry, but it's just such a really good tool that allows us to get data off a server into a repository really easily. And so I've opened up these files on my desktop, and I'm opening them from within that bucket actually, and we can see that in terms of the API code, as Hardik mentioned, there is a template. We can add any of our additional functions we want in here, or we can even require those modules if we have, add them to our own library. And in this particular case, we're using the AWS SDK to get our S3 bucket. The developers are able to build using the AWS SDK. However, we have got that locked down very tightly down to your S3 buckets and your DynamoDB tables. We're not demonstrating the DB tables today, but again, they also have two types of tables, one which can trigger integrations and one which does not. So here's our code, and all it's doing is it's getting the document sent in that payload, or the document ID, and it's trying to obtain that data from S3 and send that data via the API back to Power BI. Now, if it is a very large file, we also are able to create a signed URL and then redirect the incoming request to that signed URL. Fortunately for us, all the files we're using today are not that big. So really, we just get that file and we send that file back as a response. And so you can construct whatever responses you want for your API, and you can handle whatever payload you might like to send yourself. So in this way, it's a very robust way of creating an application in a very short amount of time and to get data out of the system. And so perhaps a little bit more detailed here, if we dive into the 365 data integration, we can see that, again, same template. We have our basic template. We do use a sleep function in here because Microsoft tend to throttle your requests sometimes. There are other modules you could use to do that. This is just a simple way for us to do for this demonstration. And then you can see within our code, much like you would be familiar with in terms of developing with JavaScript, we can iterate over a path. So that's our list of paths. We can iterate over our list of clients in our job options, which again, if you go back to the user interface, we've set those configurations inside our application. So if I go and have a look again, you can see that we have paths and we have clients and we have a time frame. Now, if I come back here, you'll see we have, again, we can iterate over every path. We're iterating over every tenancy within those clients. We're getting the correct credential for that tenancy, and then we're then acquiring the data for that tenant and that path and storing it into our S3 bucket. Actually, we're passing it first, and then we are storing it into S3. And so you can see that there is no limit to the complexity of application that we could build in the platform. And if I just come back and have a look now, you can see that refresh of data has completed in Power BI, and now we have tables of data that we can use to get information about all sorts of different things, depending on what the client needs. So that brings it into my presentation. I'm sure people might have a few questions. I'd be happy to answer that a little bit later in the webinar.
Yeah, thanks, Alex. Thanks, Hardik, for sharing the case study illustrating the capabilities of nanoConnect. So definitely, we are going to conduct another webinar where we'll illustrate end-to-end case study. So now let's delve into Apna's strategic direction and mission and how we are working to empower the Indian market with this transformative platform, nanoConnect. Our strategic vision at Apna, we are committed to bridging the gap between global excellence and local relevance. Our strategic vision is to empower Indian businesses to become truly global and competitive. We believe that integration is a key to this transformation, and nanoConnect is our vehicle of choice to make it happen. Our mission is crystal clear: to make integration seamless, cost-effective, and value-driven for Indian businesses. Before we conclude today's session, I would like to thank two key individuals who made this webinar possible, Alex and Hardik. So thanks to all the participants for being here and supporting us. We hope you found the session insightful and valuable. We would also like to schedule one-to-one meeting with you to explore the possibilities of working with you to promote the platform. And finally, our next webinar is scheduled for January next year. We will also be sending you the invite for the same shortly. Free license and training on the platform as a surprise gift for selected registrant. We look forward to your continued participation with us. Please post your question in the Q&A area.
There's a question just now. So are there resources to help people learn how to use the platform, and how does the platform support users in troubleshooting issues? So absolutely, in terms of learning the platform, we provide onboarding support and we provide training throughout that onboarding. The APNA team have been through that training with multiple people having been involved. So there is support locally in India with people who have been using the platform for many months now, and there's also support from nanoPushin for developers who would like to be using nanoConnect. In terms of troubleshooting issues, it will, for Indian-based developers, we'll be able to provide support through APNA in terms of troubleshooting any local issues. With regards to the platform, we support the platform for all of our developers, and so we do have a support email where any issues that are platform related can be sent to, and our team will resolve those issues and those bugs and work through them with you. There is as part of that onboarding, documentation around the functionality of the platform, but we also provide in that onboarding a hands-on session that will take you through how the platform works and how you can build your first application. Another question I get quite regularly just around the API triggered events is what happens if there are multiple API calls at once. Our platform can scale to billions of calls per day without the need for any kind of IT support or otherwise. When you create an API triggered application, they can be triggered in parallel, and there's no limit to how many of those currently you can trigger. I think from a platform perspective, the default is 10,000 new triggers per second, but we're yet to see someone using that level of bandwidth on their platform. If you do need more than that, we are able to extend it to hundreds of thousands of integrations running per second. Just will depend on the client requirements.
Actually, we have one more question. So it is like, how does the nanoConnect platform keep up with the new technologies and the things businesses need as they change? Are there resources? That's all.
That's a good question, and I think a lot of people are wondering, well, what about AI, and how could AI be used within the nanoConnect platform? One of the things I didn't demonstrate just now is the extent of support that people do get through VS Code, through plugins like AI-powered plugins. And I know APNA have developed a plugin which allows you to use AI in developing your code, where it will suggest the next part of your code and making that coding experience a lot faster. We've used tools like that. We use tools like Code Whisperer and GitHub Copilot. These are all tools that are embedded in platforms like VS Code, meaning it is actually never been easier than today to write code. And in fact, we see people who have very little JavaScript skills getting up to speed very quickly through the use of AI. And that's a core advantage for us, because if we were using a different iPaaS solution, a visual iPaaS solution, we would need to wait for that system, or if you're using, for example, Tray.io or something, you have to wait for them to go and build that functionality. Whereas in the developer landscape, where today all of that is already there, and developers have been using AI for the last few years in that space. So we have built entire integrations from scratch, just using AI. And once it sees some part of your code base, it's able to very quickly understand all of the nano syntax around, including nano modules and how you call different modules. And I apologize, there's one thing that we didn't share in this demonstration. If you don't mind, I might share my screen, Hardik, and we can show that one line of code, because I think that actually is quite important.
Yeah, I also was hoping that we can do that.
Yeah, so let me just come back into VS Code, and we can have a look here where we're actually making a request to the Microsoft endpoint. And so just bear with me one moment where I find it in the code. Here we go. Right. I don't know if you can all, I might just zoom in a little bit for everyone. So we publish, as part of our platform handlers, connectors to a range of different platforms. And so everything from Microsoft Graph API to SharePoint to Okta to all sorts of payroll and HR platforms. And in addition to that, we have universal connectors, where you can create connectors like credentials to a platform. And so here you can see we're actually formulating a configuration here, saying we want to get some data from a URL, and then we're passing that to our Microsoft Graph module. We're telling it who we are, which client are we, which credential we're using, which has been passed into us, like that's been passed into this code by the application, by nanoConnect. And then we're passing into that function our configuration. Now, all of our connectors work exactly the same way, meaning you can construct a Axios style request, and we will abide by all of the different parameters that you put in there. We're making that request on your behalf, but we are handling all of the authentication that's required to get data from this endpoint, regardless of whatever endpoint you want. And that's incredibly powerful. And so just to kind of give you an idea of what it takes to set up a graph credential, if we head back into our platform and go to our credentials page, we can see, so for example, we have a nano graph credential here. If we drill into that, you can't see any of that secret information, but it is using our universal OAuth2 connector. And to show you what that looks like, we can choose OAuth2. We can say we want to add it to our header. We can call it a bearer, and the grant type might be an authorization code. And then we can go through, just like you will with Postman, create a credential here and save this data. And once it's saved, all of this is protected. And however, the developer can make reference to it and then use that within their code. And you can see that here with this one line of code, we're getting data from Microsoft Graph. And if we go back to the platform, you'll see, within our library, there's a whole bunch of universal platform connectors, Active Campaign, Aircall, Bamboo HR, Asana, all these different platforms, along with some links to some of the reference documentation as well. So we're providing a really convenient way for the developer to get their data out of a system with a single line of code, and put data in as well.
Yeah, so thanks, Alex. I think it gave a gist of the platform capabilities. So definitely we would be reaching out to you to schedule one-on-one meeting to explore the possibility of working together. So once again, thanks to all for your continued support. Have a wonderful day today. Thank you.